This is All Things Ansys, a podcast from the technical support staff at PADT. Episode 53, our roundup on what happened in 2019 and our predictions for 2020 and beyond, along with news and such from the Ansys world. Welcome to our podcast, our last one for this year and for this decade. It's been a busy year here at PADT and for the Ansys world, and we're going to talk about that with the members of our support team today. Hear everyone's predictions for the future, then take a look at the news and what's going to happen before we prep for the holiday break. Podcast-wise, this is, as stated, episode number 53. So we've had 15,976 downloads. It's late at night on December 19th as I record this, so that's how many we had. That's 307 on an average per episode. So do let your friends and coworkers know about the podcast, and we do ask that you subscribe as well, so you make sure you know when we have new episodes. I will also apologize. I am recording this at night here in my home, and there may be dogs barking or family members moving around in the background, TV, etc. But hopefully it won't be too distracting. Let's go ahead and get on to the interview. We talked with Ted, Sina, Ahmed, and Tom about 2019, some predictions for 2020 and beyond. Okay, everybody, welcome to our end-of-year recording and discussion for the All Things Ansys podcast. I'm joined by members of our tech support and engineering team here at PADT to talk about what we thought was cool in 2019 and what we expect, our predictions, which we're not very good at. We're shown now for 2 years on what will happen in 2020. So go ahead and introduce yourselves. We'll go ahead and start with Ahmed.
Hey, my name is Ahmed Fayad. I'm an IT support engineer for engineering. I get double engineering in my title.
He's double engineering in his title. And he's the guy that talks to your IT guy when your IT guy doesn't understand what you're trying to tell him.
Yeah.
Exactly. Translator.
When the engineers want this software running immediately and the IT guys are like, this is what? It does what? Who? Where? So
you want me to open what port?
Yeah.
Sina, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sina Ghods. I'm a senior CFD application engineer here at PADT, and I'm with PADT for 2 years now.
Ted?
My name is Ted Harris. I manage our simulation support group here at PADT. Been with PADT for 20 years or so, and been an Ansys user longer than that.
Yeah. And Tom?
My name is Tom Chadwick. I'm a senior CFD support engineer for PADT. I've been working here for about 5.5 years now, and I've been using Ansys and CFD products for a little over 30 years.
And we were hoping to have one of our 3 high-frequency electromagnetics type people on, but I think they're all either snowed in or on vacation, so they weren't able to join us for the podcast.
Or just busy.
Or busy. Or very busy. Yeah, I think that's true. I think each of those is busy. I think Alec is snowed in Denver, and Michael's busy, and Seema is on vacation. So anyway, I'm Eric Miller, and let's go ahead and get started. Who wants to say first what their favorite thing was for 2019?
I can start with some fluids.
Yeah.
Favorite things. Well, on the Fluent side, as Ansys claimed this beginning of this year, the focus was on the user experience and usability. So for that, they introduced some meshing workflows that enables some users that without necessarily having a decent background in Fluent meshing to get decent results. And it's something that I see people using it give very positive feedback on it. So that's one of my favorite things. Really minimizes the disruption or bombarding the user with many options. It just basically exposes the user to so little or few options that are the best for the task at hand, and enables users to get results very fast, the decent results again, with not necessarily having a decent experience. So it's something that Ansys started toward the end of the 2018, and then they heavily focused on it during this year. Now they have two meshing workflows, one for watertight geometry, one for dirty, they call it fault-tolerant geometries, or meshing workflow, which again is getting more and more popular. And they also, to add to the usability and user-friendly and user experience, they work on the speed and the user interface. Basically, it looks more like fresh and modern now. So even the look of the Fluent has changed. And in the technical side, are some favorite things that I really was waiting for some of them for a long time. There's a very, I would say, again, user-friendly turbulence model that enables the users to play with some knobs and to basically tune the model for their specific task. So turbulence is kind of a field that in CFD that users sometimes kind of get lost because there are too many options. With this new model, and they implement it into code. Now it's just like a general model that there you have some knobs to turn and tune and get the best model for your application. So that's a big thing. Besides other physics like acoustics, erosion models, those things also has got some developments and improvements. But I would say user experience was a big thing, plus some core physics and like turbulence was a big thing last year.
Cool.
In Fluent.
We had 3 releases, right, in 2019?
Yes, which is going to be 2 next year.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot to cover.
Exactly. So I think all the Ansys products are going to get just two updates or releases next year. Same for Fluent and CFX.
Good. And those are all really a lot of usability, a lot of new capability. It's very, very cool. I'm very excited. Ted, do you have anything you want to say about like mechanical or any other products? And I did mute everybody, so unmute yourselves before you talk. Ted. Can Ted unmute himself?
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, so there were quite a few 2019 new things to choose from between acquisitions and new features. But thinking about it a little bit, the one I'm going to go with is the new updated user interface in Ansys Mechanical. So that's the ribbon toolbar, as we like to call it. So that came out in version 2019 R2, and it's not a total revampment of the user interface. The prior one had really been around for 10 years, actually a little more than 10 years. And, I think that's just a testament to how good it is. I mean, right. I think when it first came out, there was a little bit of a learning curve, but once we got up that learning curve, it became a very efficient workflow and still is a very efficient workflow. And so the enhancement made at 2019 is to just give it a little more modern look and feel, as well as to organize things a little more streamlined as far as the workflow goes, and make it a little more user-friendly in that, if there's something that you just can't find, now there's the quick access search type field up at the top. You can just type in what you're looking for, and it'll automatically take you there. So between having things organized, more user-friendly, in a more user-friendly manner, and maybe in a little more logical manner, and being able to easily find things rather than having to hunt and peck and look through the help to find something, I think that's a really beneficial enhancement that was made to Mechanical in year 2019 and version 2019 R2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So Ahmed, you're looking at things from, like, as we mentioned when we started, from a slightly different perspective. What was your favorite enhancement that you saw coming through this year?
My favorite enhancement, it's kind of spread out, really. It's kind of building for a trend, and it falls over into the predictions. I've seen some motion towards simplifying distribution, simplifying running on clusters, simplifying the cloud interface, and simplifying the elastic licensing, and making it all make sense. So it doesn't take a PhD in IT to get to use and apply all of these different tools.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think making the move to support HPC rather than leaving it up to the user has been a positive thing. They have a ways to go, but it's been a positive thing for sure. Would you say that install's getting easier over time?
That's another thing. Install has been getting easier. It's more streamlined. Very rarely do you have the strange errors at the end of the installation that are hard to explain. So all in all, our main task when it comes to getting users up and running from the installation perspective is run the installer, make sure that your firewall ports are open, and that's it. There isn't much more involved beyond that unless it's a really specific case. So they've done a good job at upgrading the installers to make sure that they encompass everything. The other big thing is Ansys has been on a buying spree, getting a lot of products rolled under the umbrella. And initially it was, you install this, and then you get this piece, and then you run this, and then you edit this log file, and you edit this environment variable. And very, very quickly, the developers were able to roll that in under the installer. So none of that magic is required.
It's funny you should mention that, because when I talk to people about more business side of things, about how Ansys is doing from an acquisition standpoint, one of the things I always point out is that when they acquire a company, they do a much better job than their competitors. And this is a good example in that it takes a little bit of time, but eventually they get everything under the same hood. And it makes a big difference. Tom, what about you?
Sina kind of covered a lot of the stuff, but I'll just kind of reiterate the fluent mosaic meshing. I've had a lot of success with that, meshing very large models, things that with the old workbench mesher sometimes would take 5 or 6 hours to mesh in 100 million cells. Now you can do it with the fluent mesher in a matter of a couple hours and get the same quality mesh. And that mesh is transportable to the CFX solver as well, as long as you mesh in the type of cells that CFX can handle. You can easily transport the mesh from Fluent to CFX. And the other thing about the mesher that I really like is that you can easily export, once you get all the mesh settings the way you want, you can easily export that as a template file. That is its own ASCII, visible text that you can modify the settings of, and then open up Fluent, read in a new geometry file with similar boundaries, and just apply that template, and it will automatically create the mesh for you. So it's a very streamlined, quick way to generate consistent meshes with consistent settings for multiple problems of the same type, and limits the chance for a user to apply different settings for different meshes and then wonder why their solution doesn't, or why the solutions aren't agreeing with each other.
You forgot one boundary layer setting, and now it's different. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Cool.
That and the other thing that they've done that they've gotten really good now is the CFX turbo machinery special applications. They've gotten a lot of good stuff with harmonic analysis of blade flutter and special turbo machinery applications to do transient analysis of blade motion and solving in turbo machinery applications. And they're working to port that, and they've laid out a roadmap for how they're going to port that technology over to Fluent as well. So eventually both codes will have a lot of capability.
And let me stop you right there. And to all of our listeners who just had a heart attack, remember what Tom just said. Both codes will have that same capability.
Yes.
If you've built processes around CFX, do not panic.
They have no intention. They have repeatedly stated that they are not getting rid of the CFX solver. It's similar to the mechanical side where you still have mechanical APDL is still a viable tool that you can use even 10 years after the workbench mechanical was implemented. There is still the ability to run the old type models in APDL.
I was actually in there yesterday for some strange reason using APDL. It's sort of shocking. I remember some of those commands. That's really cool. I think it was Ted or Ahmed or Ted brought up the acquisitions. And so I'm looking at the Ansys News Center where they list all their press releases. So in January, they bought electronics and crosstalk solutions leader Helix was added to the Ansys family. And then Granta was added to the Ansys family. And then what else? DFR Solutions, which is electronic automation design analysis, was added. And of course, my favorite one, and what I'm going to highlight as the most important thing of the year, was the acquisition of LS Dyna, which is really powerful. And what's not on this list, which is worth mentioning, is also a partnership with a company that's got a really good rigid body kind of kinematics dynamics tool. Do you guys remember the name of that product out of Korea? It's dropping my brain right now. No, we'll look it up. But anyway, so now built into Ansys is the ability to do the rigid body stuff, and then also MotorCAD, which is another program. Instead of acquiring it, they partnered with, that allows us to do simulation, kind of upfront design simulation of electric motors and similar hardware. So there's been a lot of added capability from outside the Ansys family. Of those acquisitions, which is your guys' favorite? Acquisitions or partnerships?
Well, actually, there's one you haven't mentioned. Is one I saw a demo of just recently. It's called Rocky DEM, and
they didn't acquire them though. That's just
that's an requirement. It's not an acquirement, but it's something that they partnered
really cool
with.
Really cool.
And it's an amazing program that allows you to model mixing of solids of any arbitrary shape you want, anything from spheres to cubes to
I want to do coffee beans. Yeah.
They had a model of a conveying system of gummy bears.
Nice.
So they had a little tiny model of a bunch of gummy bears rolling down a conveyor belt and how they would bounce off of each other and move around, and it's a pretty impressive tool.
And it's for those who don't know it, it's actually recently been acquired or merged into ESSS, which is the channel partner down in South America, which is a fantastic company to do work with.
Well, I'll mention two of them, but I guess the first one I'll mention is the one you talked about, the DFR, and the product there is Sherlock, which is an amazing tool for printed circuit board reliability simulation. So it's fast, it talks the PCB language. It reads the layouts. It understands the vias and all that stuff. It reads the ECAD formats. It has part libraries and materials built in. It's easy to add in ones that aren't, and it connects downstream with Ansys Mechanical. So it's really quick and amazing. The other one I'll mention is Granta, which gives us access to not just a materials database, but a system for determining what material to use. So, for example, if you have a long-time material supplier that needs to be replaced for one reason or another, and you need to look at alternatives to that material, the Ansys Selector product has the capability built in to not just look at properties of different materials, but also to assess costs and things like that. It's really, a different type of simulation tool than we're used to from, longtime Ansys users.
So LS Dyna is my favorite thing that because I've been using it since it was Dyna 3D, so I've kind of got a romantic attachment to it. But if I really step back and look at what's going to have the biggest impact on users, I think that you've named the two that especially Granta is going to have a wide range across all the physics. And then for people, if you've ever modeled a printed circuit board, halfway through your process, you're like, there's got to be a way to make a vertical application to do this. And it looks like they've done it with Sherlock. So I'm excited about getting that into our workflow here. How about Sina or Ahmed? Are there any comments about any of the acquisitions?
Yeah, so Sherlock was an exact example of rolling a product into the Ansys umbrella really, really quick. When it was first acquired, we had a customer that was looking into adopting it, and we had some demos set up, and it was a nightmare to get everything working.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 weeks later, we had a training. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it's going to be, I'm installing on 10 laptops. It's going to take a week and this and that. And then they're like, no, you just run the installer and it works. And for me, that was a huge relief. And I was really impressed with how quickly it was rolled under the umbrella.
That's great.
And I just want to add, Eric, to the LS Dyna acquisition you mentioned as the CFD guy. At some point in my career, I actually ended up using LS Dyna for acoustic simulations, and it has some unique capabilities in that area. Explicit impact and acoustics, it's really a powerful tool. So I'm really happy that Ansys has acquired them, and it's part of the Ansys now.
Yeah, I think we think of LS Dyna as mostly doing, bending metal at high speeds, but it does a lot more. It has the ability to do some fluids, to do acoustics, to do all sorts of crazy things. It's a powerful tool. It closes a lot of doors. So I think that's it. Does anybody else want to add anything about 2019 before we move on to 2020 predictions? All right. Who wants to make the first prediction for 2020 or beyond? You can go out there if you want.
Well, I don't know if I would call it a prediction. I guess my hope is that they'll continue to work on improving the capability for cluster computing. Mm-hmm. They've made some improvements to the interface and the setup capability and the ease of setup of it, but it's still somewhat of a difficult process to configure, and especially with security concerns and things like that. And there have been some rumors flying around that they're working on a new tool, and hopefully that will come to fruition this year, and we'll have a tool that is much easier to set up, that doesn't require, as Ahmed said, a PhD in information technology in order to set up.
Yeah. I know that's an area that they're working heavily on, and it's not an easy problem because
No, it's not.
every customer is different, right? Getting it working there at Ansys or even at one customer doesn't mean it's going to work everywhere. So I'm glad they're focused on that.
Yeah.
Anybody else got a prediction?
Yeah, so adding to the fluids, I mean, I might be cheating here because I've already been informed about some of the plans that developers have. So just to reflect some of them, there's going to be much more improvements in terms of the meshing. There are going to be more workflows added, and also like a poly remeshing is something that is missing right now for applications like sand accretion. It's on their roadmap for next year, the poly mesh remeshing basically, and also more turbulence capabilities, as I mentioned. So overall, as I said, Fluent is going to get the majority of the physics updates and improvements next year, and the CFX would still get the turbo machinery application developments like previous years.
Good. Ted, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think we're going to see more capabilities and enhancements in the additive workflow, and from that, I mean from topology optimization into simulations for 3D printing, the 3D printing build process, and just additional capabilities for the types of loads that you can apply, the types of manufacturing constraints that you can apply. And, I don't have insider information here. I'm just speculating on the path that has been followed so far.
Right.
And, just more of a complete workflow, filling in the gaps, allowing for different types of issues that people designing for 3D printing may need, more types of constraints for the type of part you want, symmetry and things like that. And we may see additional capabilities for the types of 3D printing that's being done. I'm not really sure about that, but and then there's really two tools for topology optimization in the Ansys tool set. We have Ansys Mechanical, which is the flagship solver for structural, and then there's also Discovery Live, which has topology optimization. That's more of the designer level tool. However, that topology optimization went from beta to production in 2019, and it is incredibly fast. Right. And it's still kind of limited in what it can do as far as loads and manufacturing constraints. So I would expect there'll be some nice enhancements there as well.
That's gonna be useful as well. That's really good. I'm gonna go. Actually, Ahmed, do you have anything you want to add? I think you hinted that you had a prediction based upon what happened in 2019 as well.
So a couple of predictions and maybe hopes. My one of the predictions that I think is inevitable is Ansys will roll up all of their HPC interfaces into a giant package where you click a few check boxes and you run the installer and you immediately have an HPC environment set up. That's my hope. But on a bigger picture, I think that all of this boom in simulation work and in design work and engineering work and all these startups popping everywhere are going to really have an impact on the technology that's out there, literally rolling on the streets with Nikola and Rivian and all these great new companies coming up, reaching maturity, as well as smaller things that, IoT, the big wave is coming on and we're going into maturity. So things are going to be interesting how our lives are going to change, and we're going to move into the Jetsons, hopefully.
Yeah, I want my flying car. It's just that's all I care about. Is I got to have my flying car before I die.
I want to push a button for breakfast.
Yeah, that's right too. Yeah. Well, you can do that. It's just that it rings and then someone brings it to you. But
yeah,
I think you kind of touched on it, and my prediction is that a lot of these mega trends that we've been seeing are, have been going through the hype curve, and then some of them went away. Like IoT was a huge deal for a while, and then it kind of went away, and I think we're going to start seeing it come back in real, right? Instead of the hype, this is the real deal here, and so my big prediction is movement of Ansys more into the automotive space from a feature capability standpoint, not just a marketing standpoint, but really addressing. It's never been a strong area certainly for Ansys Mechanical, maybe for Fluent a little bit more, but other tools have been kind of dominant in the automotive space. And I think with electrification, these companies are starting to use Ansys and seeing the power of it and going, well, we can use it for structural, and we can use it for CFD, and we can use it for acoustics, and we can use it for these other things. So there may be some capabilities that we need to add. So I'm kind of predicting to see more focus on what's missing, the holes or the empty spaces in our portfolio that the large automotive companies need as they start taking a look at Ansys, especially on the structural side. Then I'll make a long-term prediction before I ask for your guys, if you have any other things you want to talk about. I think that Ansys is going to get to $2 billion in revenue in the next 2 to 5 years at some point. And at that point, I think that there's going to be some sort of a merger with another large simulation company, which is MathWorks. They're about a little bit less than $1 billion in revenue, according to their private company, so it's hard to tell. But they're about the same size, the two companies. And I would love to see, kind of like I always wanted to see LS-DYNA and Ansys get together, or LSTC and Ansys get together. I'd love to see MathWorks and Ansys get together. And that adds a lot of system level simulation capability that is really being pushed by a lot of our customers. Anybody else have any predictions they want to share before we wrap it up?
Well, I guess, a couple years ago, we had the crazy thing about simulations being run by rovers on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's happened yet, but, I think we're getting closer and closer to simulations happening real time, Internet of Things kind of coming more to the forefront as far as what can be done and what is going to be done. So I can certainly see, spacecraft that are autonomous running some kind of finite element or related simulations on what's going on locally at the time.
Good point. Yeah.
I would like. Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say that one of the things that I can see coming along is as computing power shrinks down and remote visualization is increasing, and is the capability for people to be able to monitor solutions and run solutions from almost anywhere.
Good point.
I've seen people doing stuff. I mean, we had somebody demoing over a year ago here, running on a remote cluster and bringing up on their iPhone a visualization of the solution as it was progressing, and monitoring the solution and manipulating the image on an iPhone that was actually occurring remotely on a server in another building. Mm-hmm. And as internet speeds and Wi-Fi speeds go up and they develop remote visualization, that would be an interesting acquisition for Ansys to do, would be a remote visualization company. There are a couple of them that they're working with, but they're not, they're separate entities right now. It'd be interesting to see them do something like that. But I can definitely see that being the direction that things are going, as Ted said, of solutions running on Mars and people being able to view results and things like that, and have the results of that simulation affect the actions of what's going on in that remote location.
Kind of digital twin out on the edge, to throw two buzzwords together.
Yep.
Ahmed?
Yeah. So I would like to go a little upstream from all of the production and usability stuff. And I mean, I feel with the age of my kids, I feel like STEM is reaching a point where I think design, actual engineering work, and simplified simulation work needs to roll into teaching kids, before high school, what is product design, what is, simulation, and how do you start looking at things before you build them. That would be a pretty cool application to kind of get the kids' minds wrapped around it, instead of, having to wait to college to start seeing that.
Something like Discovery Live wrapped into a tool that's oriented towards younger kids. Yeah.
Discovery Live, Minecraft, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Merging of Minecraft and Discovery Live. That'd be really cool. Well, as long as I can do it in my flying car, I'm happy. So that's my goal. All right. Well, guys, thank you very much. I think the future is bright. There's a lot going on, and I know the one thing that we can guarantee, our predictions may not be accurate. The one thing we can guarantee is there will be lots of new capability and features coming, and new capabilities joining the Ansys family through acquisition as well. So both organic and acquired growth are about the only things we can count on. So I want to also, before we wrap it up, thank the tech support team, which we have, 4 members on this call, for really having, they had a tough year. They had a lot of new customers and a lot of tech support calls and a lot of new users and a lot of new products. And I know it was a challenging year. So I want to thank them for being on the other end of the phone and the other end of the email for our customers. I'm going to put Ted on the spot and ask him, if off the top of his head, if he knows how many tech support calls we've done so far this year. The answer may be he doesn't know it quite yet.
The last I checked, we were on pace for about 1,500 for the year. I mean, that's not just calls. That's all. Yeah. All cases.
So 1,500 cases in the year. So, give some thanks in the new year for tech support people everywhere in the world, not just our team, but it's pretty amazing what you guys put up with. 1,500 calls in 12 months that's a lot. So congratulations on that. And thanks for taking part in the discussion.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Talk next time.
Bye. You would think after 53 episodes we would be better at managing our headphones. If portions seemed a bit choppy or out of place, it was because we were muting ourselves when other people were talking and then forgetting to unmute as we said very intelligent things that weren't recorded. So we're going to go ahead and call that authentic handcrafted podcasting, and then move on. We do hope you enjoyed the discussion. It was fun. We always do like doing a summary and talking about the future, and hope you guys had a chance to reflect back on the past year and all the great things that have happened and what's coming down the road. As we've done for our last couple of episodes, we don't really have a commercial. We're working on some other options still. Just a reminder to please consider PADT as your Ansys partner if you are in the southwestern U.S., including all of California. Also, please think of us as a provider for your 3D printing services, scanning, product design, and of course, simulation training, customization, and consulting services across all the physics that Ansys and LS Dyna support. Let's talk about the news. Ansys stock, like I said, it's the evening of December 19th, and it sits at a whopping $255.75 a share. It peaked at an all-time high forever in the Ansys world history of $259 per share on Monday, December 16th. So that's a pretty big number, $250, almost $260 a share. It's impressive. It's a 85.03% increase year to date. And the S&P 500 has only gone up 30.36%. So that's a much better performance than the S&P 500. So the stock is doing very well. And we'll share, the summary for the year in the next podcast, where it ended up and all that stuff. And then as a final note on the stock, well, actually not. We got one more thing to talk about. But before that, the market cap sits at a huge $21.89 billion. That's the outstanding value in shares of the Ansys company, Ansys Inc. Ansys news, the most important news is stock related. Ansys is joining something called the NASDAQ 100 Index. And I have to be honest, I didn't know there was such a thing as a NASDAQ 100 Index. We've heard of the Dow Jones Industrial and some other indexes, the S&P 500 I talk about a lot. Well, the NASDAQ 100 is the 100 largest non-financial companies in the NASDAQ stock market. So they have one for all the banks and insurance companies, and then everybody else goes into this one. So what kind of companies are in that list? Let me read you the top 10. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, two different Google Alphabet companies, Intel, Comcast, Cisco, PepsiCo, and rounding it out the top 10, Adobe. So it's not a bad company for Ansys to be in. It's quite a milestone. It is financially based, so it means the stock value has gone up, as we've seen. And it's one of the 100 most valuable companies on the NASDAQ that's not a financial company. So congratulations, actually, to the whole team at Ansys, from the new hire that's doing tech support at ungodly hours to the wonderful CEO, Ajay, who's done a fantastic job with the company, and kudos to everybody in between. It takes a lot of this kind of success and growth. It's really because it's a good product and it works and people like it, and it saves money and makes money for the customers. So, and that doesn't happen without developers and marketing people and salespeople and administrative folks and IT people and executives and financials and lawyers and all these people working together around the world in the Ansys family to make it happen. So congratulations. Can't wait to see where the company ends up for the year. The only other news really out there we're sharing, other than a couple of we're working with this customer, working with that customer, is they did announce that they're going to have a big presence at CES 2020 this year. They're going to be focusing on mobility, on basically the electrification and automation. Is that a word? Making cars autonomous. At CES, they had a really good event last year. They met with a lot of fantastic customers, and they're going even bigger this year. So if you're at CES 2020 in Vegas, stop on by the Ansys booth. There'll be a lot of great people there. PADT news. Our big news was our NASA Phase 2 STTR win. That's a $755,000 grant from NASA that we will share with our partners Arizona State University and Kennesaw State University. The grant will fund research for combining cellular patterns inspired by nature with simulation and 3D printing to make stronger and lighter structures for space exploration. What does that really mean to those of you in the Ansys world? Well, we're going to be looking at creating an optimization tool for lattice structures, cellular structures. There'll basically be a 2D cross section that we extrude in the Z direction, and the shape, the topology will be the same across the part, but the wall thickness and the size of each cell will vary. So that's the point of our tool, is to, first of all, allow that kind of geometric modification, and then optimize it so that you can get a varying density, you can get a varying stiffness, you can get all sorts of cool properties. So we're going to get a lightweight structure that behaves just the way we want it. We'll be using a lot of space claim, customization of space claim, of course, the Ansys solver and the optimization tools as well. So we're really excited about that. It is a chance for us to combine our Ansys expertise, our design knowledge, and our rather deep penetration in the 3D printing space. So we'll be using both polymer and metal printers to make samples to test this stuff out, and we'll be testing things as well. And that's one of the things we'll be doing with our ASU and Kennesaw State partners, is they'll be helping with the testing as well as some of the algorithm development and things like that. So do stay tuned to the podcast as we, over the next 2 years, when we work on that project, we'll share what we can. It should be really interesting, and hopefully we'll end up with a tool that you guys can use when we're all done to do this kind of optimization. That's the goal. What else we got? Ansys blog. We haven't really talked too much. There's a lot in there in the materials and electronics and optical simulation space. So I would take a look. There's a lot. I picked 3, but there's a bunch more to take a look at. There's some really good stuff. The first one that I think everyone should read is called Everything You Need to Know About Self-Driving Trucks. And even if you're not modeling LiDAR systems, you should take a look at this because we're going to be out there on the road with these trucks. And it's good to know when they go by. That's kind of fun to understand what they're doing from a sensor standpoint. And you can bore your fellow passengers with your knowledge that you learned from this blog post about said technology. The next one I really liked is called Understanding Machine Learning for Material Science Technology. I'm always looking for practical applications for artificial intelligence, machine learning. This is a good article about using it to basically find the right materials for your parts. And the third one is also kind of material oriented. It's called 3 Tips for Lightweighting Aircraft. And it talks about the different material changes you can make, the manufacturing processes, and then keeping track of it all with some sort of a data management system. So do check those 3 Ansys blog articles out at the Ansys website, as well as the other stuff that's there. There's a whole bunch of good stuff, but those are the 3 I picked. PADT-wise, we had one blog post besides the announcement of the NASA STTR win, and it was from Pam Waterman, and she shared her list of books on additive manufacturing that she recommends. So these are not for the general public. They are technical, basically textbooks and technical surveys. And they're books that are very useful. So there's books on metal, there's books on polymer, there's books on design for additive. They're fairly comprehensive and a really great list. So do check that out on the PADT blog. It's a must resource if you're interested in the technical side of 3D printing. We got no upcoming events because it's December 19th and we're done for the year. PADT actually shuts down between Christmas Eve, at noon on Christmas Eve, through New Year's Day. So we'll be back on January 2nd. So we just got a few days left in the year that we'll be working. Our sales team, of course, will be up closing deals, as will our technical support team. Will be checking emails from home for any emergency tech support calls that come in over the break while our customers do a little bit of work while we're on vacation. That's pretty much it. It's the end of the year, and I got nothing else to talk about. So I want to thank everybody wherever you are in the world. Have a great holiday season. 2019 was really a great year here at PADT. It was special to us because it was our 25th anniversary, 25 years of being in business. So saying goodbye to 2019 is going to be kind of hard. We've enjoyed looking back and celebrating all the things that our wonderful employees have done over the years. But 2020 is going to be amazing. It's already shaping up to be really good. We're looking at some of the projects we'll be doing in the new year, including the STTR and the SBIR that we won earlier in the year that's also simulation related. There's all sorts of cool projects we can't tell you about that we're doing for customers with simulation. It's and the stuff that's coming down the pipe in the Ansys world, which again we can't share, is pretty exciting. So I think it's going to be a great year, and we hope that you join us through the year as we talk about all things Ansys. Don't forget to subscribe to www.padtinc.com/opt-in. Spread the word out there about the podcast, and don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for joining us for the All Things Ansys podcast, episode 53. As a reminder, this podcast is not affiliated in any way with Ansys Inc., and the opinions expressed are those of the people on the show only and not of their current or former employers. For more information, visit www.padtinc.com/blog, and please share your thoughts and questions through an email to podcast@padtinc.com. See you next time.